When you start shooting for free, you'll be known as a photographer that shoots for free. If your price rate is lower, that means that the work that you give a client should be lower. At the end of the day, you're just gonna end up doing more work for less money. And that's not why we're here, right? We're here because we wanna be a photographer and we wanna get paid for the work that we do. So you have to make sure that you're leveraging your skills and your time in a way that's comfortable for you. What's up, you beautiful creative people? Thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you are doing well. I wanted to talk today about, should you be charging for shoots as a beginner photographer? Should you be building your portfolio? How do you do TFP shoots and all that jazz? So let's get started. Wow, this is one of my favorite questions. I love talking about money. I feel like it's so taboo, but I definitely think we should do it more. I would say that this video is more for beginner photographers or people who are thinking about doing photography either as a hobby or no, for people who are planning to do photography for money and are not sure how / where to start in terms of like what you should charge or when you should start charging for shoots. So I think I'm gonna start by sharing my personal story and how I started charging what I'm charging now, which we'll get into a little bit later. So I've been taking photos as a hobby like since middle school. I remember saving up for my first camera. It was a Canon like point and shoot. It was like in between a point and shoot and like the camera I have now, and it was $60. Was it 60 or was it 100? But I had saved up so long for it, and it was battery operated, which don't get a camera that's battery operated because you would just end up spending so much money on batteries. I'm talking about those like AA batteries. Anyways, so I have been doing photography for a hobby for a minute, but my portfolio wasn't that strong, and so I started to shoot for free, which is, you know, a debatable thing, but I ended up finding some models on Facebook. Facebook has a lot of pages for models and for photographers based on your city or location, and so I was doing a lot of TFP shoots. Now, if you don't know, TFP is time for print, which a photographer usually trades their time for prints or for like digitals for the models. So it's technically not free because there is an exchange there. You're working with a model and you guys are trading time, and in return you'll be providing them with the photos that you take. So that was where I started out. I was building my portfolio, finding models, reaching out, DMing them, and setting up shoots. From there, every time I would post a photo or the model would post a photo, they'd tag me, and so I'd get a little bit of exposure that way. And sometimes people found me through those posts and they would DM me for shoots, and then I would charge from there. Now, when I first started charging, I would charge $50 per shoot, or like $50 per hour, and I highly do not recommend that. Like $50, when you think about it, like, are you spending time creative directing the shoot and coming up with the concept? Are you traveling to the shoot? How are you getting there? Are you gonna do Lyft, MetroCard? That all costs a lot of money. Even when you start to think about things like your editing programs, your camera, if you have extra batteries, your SD card, your time, those all things cost money. And so $50 was not really breaking even. I kind of ended up like in a deficit at the end of those shoots. So that's why I wouldn't recommend that. But if you did want to shoot for just some pocket change, and maybe you were shooting in your backyard and it really didn't cost you much, fine. So there was a point in time where my price rate jumped, and that's when I got a new lens. New lens meant higher quality images. You know, after I had the kit lens that came with my camera, I then got a 24 millimeter lens, which looks like a pancake lens. You might have seen it in another video that I posted. But after I got the 24, I got a 50 millimeter lens. Now this is the lens that like elevated my work to a new level. I feel like I should do a separate video on this lens alone because it is budget friendly and the quality is just, especially if you're shooting portraits and you're a beginner, this is the lens for you. I'm telling you, this is it. Especially if you're like a Canon user. Anyways, So my price rate had jumped at that point. I think I was doing 75 bucks, which still wasn't a lot, but it was better than 50 or ending up in a deficit. This is just train galore. One thing that you have to think about also is that like human behavior is really interesting, because you'll see a sweater for $5, but you'll see the same sweater for $300, and in your mind you just value the $300 sweaters more. So that's something to keep in mind when you're setting your rate. Like, don't set it too high where nobody is kind of reaching out to you to book shoots, but you want to set it high enough where people kind of understand that they're getting high quality photos, and that's really important. So I wanted to talk about some of the pros and cons of kind of slowly increasing your rate, maybe as you're building your portfolio or as you're building your camera equipment gear. Some of the pros is that you get to build your portfolio slowly, and you get to have a track record or like an archive of how your skills have increased throughout the years or throughout the months. I think that's really cool. I really do like going back and looking at older photos and seeing like how good I've gotten. So another pro about kind of slowly increasing your rate over time is, or I guess like using the Facebook pages, is that you get to build your network. One thing that I started to realize is that there's kind of like tiers. Like as you increase your pay rate, the quality of clients kind of increase. And kind of like on that note, I guess it's not a pro anymore, it's a con. When you start shooting for free, you will be known as a photographer that shoots for free. So if you shoot a client for free, they might tell their friend that, hey, I know a photographer that actually does free shoots. Go over to them. So you might get like a rep as being a free photographer, as being like a low budget photographer. So sometimes it might be within your best interest to kind of develop your portfolio on your own time. Reach out to models with your own discretion, maybe DMs, maybe not like public posts. Collect those photos, really build your portfolio, and then bam, hit them with the price. Another thing that I've noticed is that with a lower price rates comes lower quality clients. And I know this sounds kind of bad, but if you're dealing with free or low cost models that reach out to you and know that they're getting work for free or for extremely low cost, they're typically the lower quality clients. And I kind of mean this in the sense that they're either going to show up late, there's going to be no shows, they might edit over your pictures when you've sent it to them. I've had that happen to me a few times. Like, it's really interesting, like I said earlier, about human behavior and how people value services or goods based on their price alone. So just keep that in mind when you're pricing your work and what you're offering within that price range. And that kind of goes to my next point. When you are setting your rates for your photography, make sure you're including things that you are comfortable with. If your price rate is lower, that means that the work that you give a client should be lower. You shouldn't be setting your rate for $50 and giving clients hundreds and hundreds of photos. Make sure that you're doing with what you're comfortable with. If you want to charge $50 and you feel like, all right, I don't really want to edit, you can send them raw photos if that's something that you feel comfortable with. If you're charging $50 and you want to make sure that your transportation is covered, maybe you can say $50 shoots in Central Park only. Maybe you could say 10 edited photos and that's it. Must tag me in photos, that sort of thing. So you want to make sure that you're never going outside your comfort zone. And if someone asks you to go outside your comfort zone, you have to be willing to either charge an extra fee for it or just say no. Because at the end of the day, you're just going to end up doing more work for less money. And that's not why we're here, right? We're here because we want to be a photographer and we want to get paid for the work that we do. So you have to make sure that you're leveraging your skills and your time in a way that's comfortable for you. So I just wanted to say, I think I probably talked mostly about how climbing the pay rate ladder might kind of be a difficult task, but I can understand for a lot of you. And then like when I was starting out professionally myself, it meant a lot to be paid for my work, and that's what I wanted. So if you do decide to take that route, I highly recommend contracts. Even if it is a time for print shoot, you want to make sure that all of your requirements for the shoot are clear and that you and the model are on the same page. I remember I had this shoot a while ago, and it was a time for print shoot. The model was beautiful, but she wanted all of the raw photos from the shoot, and that was not something that I wanted to give her, because I don't want my unedited work to be out in public. I didn't want her to edit my work, but we never agreed upon that. I just assumed that she knew that I wasn't going to give her raw photos. So that's why I think it's important to set contracts prior. If it is a free shoot, if it is a low pay rate shoot, just make sure that you guys are on the same page. If you want to make sure that both parties are being credited equally, those are all things that you want to put in the contract. And one thing that I've used for contracts a lot is Rocket Lawyer, or I've just Googled like photography contracts and kind of read over them and included all of the details that was important to me. I'm gonna leave a link below, some sources or some websites that might have some templates that would be useful to you as a beginner photographer. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today, just talking about pricing. And if you're a beginner photographer or thinking about doing photography for money, and you want to think about what your pay rate is, I hope that helped kind of share some pros and cons to either climbing the pay rate ladder or kind of starting off from, you know, just building your portfolio and then coming out the gate like, bam, this is my price. Which actually, now that I think about it, if I could go back in time, that's the route that I would take. I would kind of take some time to really build my skill set, my editing skills, my gear, and I would really complete my portfolio in a way that I felt satisfied, and then I would come out the gate with the rate that I was comfortable with and packages that I felt like represented my skill set. I'm gonna link below a bunch of resources that helped me when I was creating packages for my clients. I'll include the Facebook pages of like where you can find models if you want to do TFP shoots and stuff like that. I'll include all of that down below. I'm so sorry if there's a lot of background noise. I think I was kind of like getting annoyed and I just wanted to do this video, and it seems to be like construction hour right now. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have any stories about models that you've worked with that haven't gone well, I just love drama. I love drama, just not my own drama. So if you want to share the stories with me or with other people, I'm here. You can leave that down below. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next video. The train! God damn it! Let me tell my story. Is it just like one long train, or are all the trains in cahoots to just come right now? Oh shit, she's filming a video. Everybody, let's go. They're just disrespectful at this point, huh? It must be rush hour, because I can't believe there are this many trains. This is actually kind of crazy. Good morning. Is it morning? Okay. I don't know what I was saying.